Hello guys, using Zealous here, and today continuing the human body, get under the skin, chapter 1, cardiovascular system. Now, with that out of the way, get into it. Chapter 1, the cardiovascular system. Ow, got a paper cut. Ooh. Would you believe a river of life runs through your body? It's your blood. Without it, your cells couldn't function at all. Place two fingers lightly on the inside of your wrist. Do you feel that tiny bump that happens over and over again? That's your pulse. Your pulse measures the beat of your heart as it pumps blood throughout your body. That blood makes everything you do possible. Breathing, running, thinking, it all relies on your blood. The path your blood takes as it moves through your body is called the cardiovascular system. And pumping steadily at the center of the cardiovascular system is your heart. Words to know. Cardiovascular system. The body system that includes the heart and blood vessels, also known the circulatory system. Nutrients. Substances that organisms need to live and grow. Hormone. A chemical that travels throughout the bloodstream to signal other cells to do their job in the body. Carbon dioxide. The gas that's produced as a waste product by your body. Vein. A blood vessel that carries blood to the heart. Artery. A blood vessel that carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Capillaries. Tiny blood vessels that connect to the smallest arteries with the smallest veins and deliver oxygen and nutrients to the body's tissues. Plasma. The liquid part of blood. Red blood cells. Cells that carry oxygen to the rest to all the cells of the body. White blood cells. Cells that protect against infection and destroying diseased cells and germs. Platelets. Cells that help the blood clot or stop a cut from bleeding. Proteins. Nutrients that are essential to the growth and repair of cells in the body. Minerals. Nutrients found in rocks and soil that keep plants and animals healthy and growing. Salt and nitrogen are two minerals. In cartoons, the heart is usually shaped like a box of chocolates on Valentine's Day. But it's really shaped more like a fist. And about the size of a fist, too. Your heart's job is to push blood through the cardiovascular system, transporting blood everywhere from the top of your scalp all the way down to your little pinky toe. The heart is a superstar of the cardiovascular system, but your blood is amazing too. Blood makes up 7% of your body weight. It carries oxygen, sugar, and other nutrients, hormones, and vitamins to all the parts of your body. At the same time, it helps to get rid of waste products such as carbon dioxide. Blood also helps regulate your body temperature and keeps cut from blood bleeding too much. Blood travels through a maze of tubes called veins, arteries, and capillaries. These blood vessels all work together so your blood can do its job to keep you healthy and strong. You know that blood is the red stuff in your body. There's a lot more to blood than its redness. Blood is up of plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Each has its own part to play. Plasma. Just a little more than half of your blood is made up of plasma. Plasma is about 92% water. The rest of it contains of proteins, dissolved salts, nutrients, and minerals. These float around in the plasma as it transports them where they need to go. Without plasma, your blood cells wouldn't be able to move through your body. Did you know? When blood is donated, it is separated into its parts. Blood is in a tube, spun around extremely fast. The force of spinning separates different types of cells into layers. The cardiovascular system. Words to know: bone marrow, spongy tissue inside some of your bones that contain stem cells. Stem cell, a self-renewing cell, divides to create cells. Potential becomes specialized cells. Molecule, a group of atoms, which are the smallest particles, bound together to form matter. Hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen into your bloodstream. Erythrocyte, a red blood cell. Leukocyte, a white blood cell. And a thrombocyte, a platelet. Disease, a sickness that produces specific signs or symptoms. Orange, something that's not natural to your body. Infection, the invasion and multiplication of microorganisms such as bacteria and viruses that are not normal present within the body that make you sick. Bacteria, microorganisms found in soil, water, plants, and animals that are sometimes harmful, often helpful. Parasite, an organism that feeds on and lives in another organism. Red blood cells. Red blood cells are produced in the bone marrow, which is soft, spongy-like substance inside bones. Inside the bone marrow are stem cells. These cells continually divide to make new blood cells to replace those that wear out. They speed up this production when necessary. For example, if the oxygen level in your body is too low, your kidneys will produce a hormone. This hormone tells the stem cells to start turning into red blood cells. After the stem cells turn into blood cells, they move into your bloodstream through the capillaries that run through your bones. Red blood cells give blood its red color. They look like flattened donuts with a hole filled in. One drop of your blood contains millions of red blood cells. They don't live very long, only about 120 days, which is why you need so many new ones. Red blood cells carry oxygen to other cells. First, they travel to the lungs to get oxygen. Once there, molecules inside the red blood cells called hemoglobin grab onto the oxygen. Then when the red blood cells travel to a part of your body where the oxygen is low, hemoglobin releases the oxygen for the cells to use. What's in the name? Although it's easy to call the different parts of your blood by their simple names. Red blood cells, or platelets, for example, they also have scientific names. Red blood cells, erythrocytes. White blood cells, leukocytes. Platelets, thrombocytes. Did you know some white blood cells are called killer cells? Their job is to hunt down and destroy any other cells that are harming your body, such as cells that cause disease or your own infected cells. White blood cells. White blood cells are bigger than red blood cells, and your blood has fewer of them. Even so, one drop of blood carries thousands of them. White blood cells protect your body against foreign invaders. Whenever an infection enters your body, the white blood cells find the harmful germs and work to destroy them. Different kinds of white blood cells attack different types of infections. Some battle bacteria. Others take on parasites. And still, others spring into action in the event of an allergic reaction. White blood cells are recreated in the bone marrow. Just like red blood cells, they have a short life, from half a day to a few weeks. Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, 1632 to 1723, is credited to the first person to discover red blood cells. He wrote a letter describing his observations in 1675. 3 years later, Jan Swammerdam, 1637 to 1680, drew the first known duplications of these cells. Take a look. Platelets. Platelets are another thing found in your blood. They are even smaller than red blood cells. Their job is to close off torn and cut blood vessels to stop the bleeding. They keep your blood where it belongs, inside you. First to know, clot. The clump of blood, proteins, and cells that form over a cut to help stop the blood flow. Transfusion. The transfer of blood one person to another. Immune system. System that protects the body against disease and infection. Includes white blood cells. Antibodies. Proteins that help the immune system fight infections or bacteria. Platelets help make clots and scabs. When you cut yourself, the platelets gather up around the wound. They plug the wound so that it stops bleeding. After the bleeding stops, platelets create long threads from a protein called fibrin. These fibrin threads, stitched together, form a mesh over your cut, which is the clot. Red blood cells and white blood cells, red and white blood cells, pile behind this mesh, and before you know it, you got yourself a scab. The scab protects the wound till the skin completely repairs itself. Try not to pick at it. Some wounds are deep enough that they need a little help in healing. That's when you might head to the doctor to get stitches. Did you know platelets got their name because of the way they look? They look like a disc made of two little plates stuck together. When they're in action, though, they change shape and look like they have tentacles. An illustration of red blood cells, white blood cells, white with dark shapes and sizes, and platelets, spiky red shapes. The life of a blood cell. Blood cells are created in bone marrow. That's the stuff inside your bones. Newly made blood cells leave the marrow through blood vessels, going through the bone and into the surrounding tissue. Blood cells spend their lives transporting oxygen, defending against invaders, helping to clot and close wounds. Blood cells are short-lived. Some kinds live half a day. Others live for a few months. Blood types. Not everyone's blood is the same. Your red blood cells may carry a different protein on them than your friend's blood cells. The protein that rides on the blood cells identifies the four main blood types: A, B, AB, and O. Blood type E has E-type proteins. Type B has B-type proteins. Type AB has both kinds of proteins. And type O has neither. Your blood type matters if you're ever in need of a transfusion. If a person with a type A blood receives a type B blood, their body will think the B protein are invaders, and their immune system will produce antibodies against it. However, a person with type AB blood can receive either type A or type B blood. Anyone can receive type O blood because it has neither the offending A or B proteins. But someone with a type O blood can receive only type O blood. Where does all this blood come from for transfusions? Many people are able to donate blood. and gets tested and sorted and stored. So that's when it's needed. It's ready. Words to know. Aorta, a large artery carrying blood from the heart. Vena cava, the main vein carrying blood into the heart. Valve, a structure that controls the passage of fluid through a tube, such as blood through veins. Blood pressure, the pressure of the blood against the inner walls of the blood vessels. Tissue, a large number of cells, similar in form and function, that are grouped together, such as muscle tissue or skin tissue. Your inner roadmap, veins, arteries, and capillaries. Your blood moves through your body in blood vessels called arteries, veins, and capillaries. These flexible tubes branch out like tree limbs, getting thinner as they reach the outer points of your body. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. Veins carry blood back to the heart. The main artery from the heart is called the aorta. The main vein into the heart is called the vena cava. Arteries and veins are similar in that the walls of both are made of 3 layers. They have a strong outer layer, then a muscle layer, and finally a sleek inner layer that allows the blood to flow easily. Arteries and veins are very different too. The walls of veins aren't as thick as walls of arteries either. And there's another difference. Because the heart is pushing blood out through your arteries, the blood is flowing in one direction, away from your heart. With your veins, the blood is on a return trip from your body, and your heart isn't pushing blood through them with the same force. Veins use valves along the way to keep the blood moving in the right direction toward the heart. Even if you're upside down, veins will keep moving blood towards your heart. Blood pressure. Your heart is pumped through your blood vessels with a certain force by your heart. The amount of that force is called your blood pressure. Having a good blood pressure is important because it's too high because of smoking, or nutrition, or not exercising enough. You're making your heart work harder than is healthy for it. And you really want to keep your heart ticking as well as possible for a long time to come. Blood pressure is measured by figuring out how blood squeezes through a restricting band in a certain amount of time. This is why a blood pressure cuff is put around your arm to measure your blood pressure. Capillaries are tiny with very thin walls. They're so narrow that blood cells line up single file that travel through them, while veins and arteries support the blood around your body. Capillaries are the tubes responsible for getting oxygen and nutrients into your body tissues. Thin capillary walls allow oxygen and nutrients to pass through them to reach your body cells. a heart of it all. The heart, like your veins and arteries, has 3 layers in its walls. In its wall, all with big names. Cardio is a part of the 3 words because cardio comes from the Greek word for heart, cardia. The outer layer is called the pericardium. The next muscle layer is called the myocardium. Myocardium. And a smooth inner layer is called the endocardium. Word to know: arteria, the chambers of the heart that retrieve blood from the veins. Ventricles, the chambers in the heart from where blood is forced into arteries. Deoxygenated, without oxygen. Oxygenated, filled with oxygen. Septum, thick layer of muscle between the 2 sides of the heart that keeps blood separated. Contract, to squeeze or force together. Although similar in shape to a fist, the heart is not a solid block of muscle. It contains 4 hollow chambers. In the top half of your heart are the left and right arteria. In the lower half of your heart are your left and right ventricles. So what path does blood take through your heart? Blood with little or no oxygen, called deoxygenated blood, travels from the rest of the body to the right side of your heart for your right atrium. Then is pumped into the ventricle on your right side, or being pumped to your lungs to pick up oxygen. At the same time, another batch of blood returning from your lungs, called oxygenated blood, travels into the atrium and ventricle on the left side of your heart. And a strong left ventricle then pumps it out to your body. Watch the path that blood takes in this video. Heart valve, pulmonary valve, aortic valve, types of valve, mitral valve. Between each atrium and ventricle is a valve that keeps the blood moving into the proper direction through the heart. Also, a thick layer of muscle between both sides of your heart, called the septum, keeps the blood separated. These chambers all work together in a steady rhythm to move deoxygenated blood to the lungs and oxygenated blood from the lungs to the rest of your body. Your heart beats because of an electrical impulse. It causes its muscle to contract. Each heartbeat has 2 stages. In the first stage, the left and right atria contract, moving blood into the left and right ventricles. In the second stage, the ventricles squeeze, pushing blood out of the heart. During a small pause as the muscle relaxes, the heart fills up with blood again, ready for the next heartbeat. Did you know the blood returning through your blood veins to your heart has so little oxygen that is bluish in color? That's why you can see blue veins on the inside of your wrist. Words to know. Mitosis, process of cell division. Membrane, the outer layer. The membrane of a cell allows materials to pass in and out. Cytoplasm, the jelly-like fluid inside a cell. Organ, a part of the body with special function, such as the heart, lungs, brain, and skin. Organelle, a structure within a cell that has a special function. And what about cells? We already mentioned cells a lot in this chapter. For example, seen how blood cells move around their body? What is a cell? Cells are the smallest living things in your body. They're sometimes called the body's building blocks. Scientists aren't sure how many cells are in your body. Estimates range between 50 to 100 trillion. And keep in mind that the cells in your body continuously as old cells change continuously as old cells die and new ones are created. All living things have cells, so plant cells are a little bit different than human and animal cells. But all of our cells have the same basic job, to maintain the human body and care for it at cellular level. Non-living things don't have cells. You're not going to find a cell in a rock or your shoe. A drawing of cells from a cork tree by Robert Hooke, who first identified them. 1665. Cells work hard to get energy from food, provide fuel to other cells, clean up dead cells, gobble up invading germs, and even reproduce themselves. They're pretty busy, bustling around inside you like a microscopic city, or at work every day. Cells can make copies of themselves. These copies are called daughter cells. Each daughter cell is an exact replica of the original mother cell. Through a process called mitosis, cells divide to reproduce themselves. Without mitosis, their body wouldn't be able to create all the new ones it needs when the old ones wear out. The cells. Close-up look. If you want to look at a cell from your body, you'll need a microscope. The first thing you might notice about a cell, it has a border around it. That's a cell membrane. It holds everything inside of a cell. The cell membrane is not quite solid. Materials can move in and out, but if the guards let them through. That's right. The cell membrane contains proteins that act as guards. If something belongs in the cell, guard proteins let it enter. The cell itself is filled with a gooey jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. What is this stuff? Well, just as your body has organs, your heart and stomach, for example, your cells have tiny parts that function as their organs. They're called organelles, meaning tiny organs. Did you know cells got their name because under a microscope, they look a little like rooms or cells. Where to know? Nucleus. Part of a cell that holds your genetic information. Ribonucleic acid, RNA. Genetic material that contains the code to make a certain protein. Mitochondria. organelles within the cell that produce energy. Endoplasmic reticulum, a network of membranes that makes changes and transports materials through your cell. A cell. Golgi apparatus. A cell organelle tags molecules for specific areas inside or outside a cell. Ribosome. The protein making factory in a cell. Lysosome. A cell organelle that contains digestive enzymes that break down waste material. Enzyme. A substance that causes chemical reactions to occur. Chemical reaction. Process when two or more molecules react and change. Here are a few organelles that can be found in different kinds of cells. Nucleus. Inside each cell is a nucleus. The control center that holds all the genetic information about you. This information is contained in a microscope strand of material called deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, and ribonucleic acid, RNA. Mitochondria, sometimes called the mighty mitochondria. These submarine-shaped organelles are the powerhouses that produce most of the energy their cells need to live and perform their functions. Endoplasm reticulum. This tongue twister name is appropriate for this organelle. It's shaped like a stack of envelopes. Its job is to move proteins around a cell. Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus looks like a stack of bent pancakes. Packages up proteins and sends them to the cell membrane. From there, the proteins pass through the environment outside that cell to use as your body needs them. Ribosomes. Tiny little spears called ribosomes make protein. Lysosomes. These organelles are responsible for cell cleanup, armed with enzymes. Lysosomes use the chemical reaction enzymes caused to break down old organelles or invading germs to remove them from a cell. Words to know: melanin, a brown pigment in the skin. A felly cell. A type of cell found on the surfaces of the body and the organs that act as a protective barrier. Different scientists discovered each of the organelles at different times. Meet some organelle explorers. In 1843, Robert Brown discovered a nucleus. The mitochondria, first observed by Alan von Cochlear in 1857. These were named mitochondria by Carol Benda in 1893. Golgi apparatus discovered in 1898 by Calmo Golgi. Albert Coughlin and Keith Porter identified the endoplasm reticulum in 1945. Ribosomes. were discovered in 1955 by George Palade. Cells and blood are two things that all living things need. In the next chapter, we'll take a look at another crucial system in our body, the respiratory system. Essential question: what job does blood play in keeping our body healthy and functioning properly? Special jobs, special cells. Your body has more than 200 different kinds of cells. Each kind has a specific job to do. Blood cells. Blood cells. You already learned that you have red and white blood cells and platelets, all performing different jobs in your bloodstream. Melanin cells. These cells are in your skin. Melanin is responsible for producing skin color, protects the skin from damaging rays in sunlight. Muscle cells. These long cells contract forcefully, usually to cause movement. Skin cells. Cells called epithelial cells are layered to form the outside layer of your cell. Learn more about skin cells in Chapter 5. Now for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you again very, very soon. Later.